How you doing, everybody out there? Thank you so much for clicking that thumbnail. Let's just go ahead on and skip all of the regular, smegular introduction and get right into it. I got a lot of things going on, so I want to get some videos out real quick. Whew. All right. So we're talking about R&B diva, pop diva, icon, class act, Diana Ross. And I've been in my Diana Ross mood here lately for the past 2 weeks. And it usually starts whenever I want to listen to Diana Ross. For me, it usually starts with this song here, Mirror, Mirror. All right. I remember this song in the early 1980s. I am a 70s baby, but I'm more of the other end of the 70s, the latter end of the 70s. And so as a child, I remember Mirror, Mirror, the song. That's when I am introduced, like musically, to Diana Ross. I've never heard Diana Ross music in my household. I've never owned a Diana Ross single or an album. No one in my house ever owned a Diana Ross single or an album. The thing that was probably popular in my household when it came to Diana Ross would be her movie career. Movies such as Mahogany. Oh my gosh, love Mahogany. Never cared too much for Lady Sings the Blues, but Mahogany was definitely the movie, as well as The Wiz. So that's how popular Diana Ross was, how I knew her. And then, as I said, this single, Mirror, Mirror, is when I started like, oh my gosh, I love Diana Ross. And quite naturally so, I'm growing up and becoming familiar with her. So when I first heard Mirror, Mirror, if I'm not mistaken, it could have been the video. I'm not sure. Or it could have been Diana Ross performing the song live somewhere, like on television, and I see her on television performing the song live. But if there's a video, it could possibly be the video. But the thing that stood out most to me when it came to the song Mirror, Mirror was the actual chorus. Mirror, mirror on the wall. You never told me I was going to take a fall. Mirror, mirror on the wall, so on and so forth. Hold on. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Something about you said you had the answer to it all. Never told me I was going to take a fall. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's early in the morning, you guys. I got a lot going on, like literally. I'm just now getting up, so I got to get things moving up here. Anywho, so I think it has a lot to do with that chorus and it being associated with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking that's pretty much the reason why it definitely stood out to me. And not only that, it was the groove. It's a real nice groove. I love it. So whenever I want to listen to Diana Ross, I start with this song. And then I go up into the 1980s. Like I rarely listen to Diana Ross's music of the 1970s. I don't, not even Upside Down and I'm Coming Out, which would be her ending her career with Motown Records. So I love Diana Ross's 80s music. And for the life of me, if it's out there, I don't understand why they didn't do it. But I don't see anything that says Diana Ross, the RCA years, when it comes to songs like Mirror, Mirror, Muscles, I'm Missing You, Endless Love, Dirty Looks. Like those are my favorite songs by her. So if there was ever like a compilation album, something like that, you can purchase, I would definitely have purchased that. I love it. So here's another thing. I've never listened to an entire Diana Ross album. Never. So now I'm saying to myself, I was like, this is a wonderful opportunity for me to do this. So I've been listening to her 80s music, not her 70s music, but her 80s music. And I'm scratching my head now, you guys, because I'm saying to myself, like, Diana, Diana, ooh, Diana. There could possibly be one album by Diana Ross in the 1980s that I probably like the entire album. And that album, oh, it's the one that I guess probably didn't do well. Interesting. I think it's the Diana album. Is it Diana? No, that's Motown. It's the RCA album. To Love Again. That's the album. For whatever reason, I don't know why, I like this album so much, but the album To Love Again is probably be my favorite album by Diana Ross. I literally listened to the entire album. I like it. I don't know why. Now, let's talk about why I like that album and why I feel like Diana Ross did not have a lot of success that she could have had with her career after leaving Motown. So there I am, and I kind of, for me, I guess I pay attention to things maybe other people don't pay attention to, or they just don't take seriously. And maybe, this is just me putting together things in my head because I want to do that. I think the first reason why Diana Ross did not have a successful career after Motown is that she left the boys club. And to me, when I say the boys club, well, Berry Gordy definitely has some, pull in the industry. And whatever was going on between her career and her personally with Berry Gordy, it is what it is. So whatever the reason why she chose to split from him, I'm pretty sure it was warranted. But when she leaves him, she leaves kind of like at the top of her career, right? Because that album that she that she ends with, right, would be the 1980 album, which would have the song Upside Down, correct? So when she leaves Motown Records, she has some pretty huge songs, Upside Down and I'm Coming Out, right? Follow with me, I'm going somewhere. And record companies are not smart. They're not. These executives are not smart. I'm sorry. When I say you're not smart, I'm not saying you're not smart up here. I'm saying you're not smart. That record companies either have a tendency to say, well, let's continue to do what you're doing. And then for whatever reason, some record companies would tell an artist who's had success in the past, oh, well, we want to switch you up over here. We want to change it, so on and so forth. And that's not a smart move. Sometimes it's not a smart move to continue the same way you are. And then another time, it's not a good idea for you to switch it up. And in the case with Diana Ross, I think she fell short because she continued to follow down a path with her music. She stayed in the same pocket, the same vein, the same genre, if you will, the same style of music to me. With Upside Down and I'm Coming Out. Where am I going with this? I think you know where I'm going with this. You should by now. Because as I'm listening to her 80s music now, and I'm listening to it intentionally, like I'm listening to it I'm definitely trying to get into the different, the instruments I can hear now, what she's saying, how she's singing, like everything right now. Like I'm paying attention to it. And I'm listening to it and saying to myself, for the first time, I've never done Diana Ross like this. So for the first time, I'm listening to her, comparing her style of singing and her style of music with other artists in the 80s, because that's kind of how I see it. I go like, oh, I done heard that sound before. I done heard that phrase before. I've heard someone try to sing or hit that note before, like, and I know which artist it that did it, whatever the case may be. Oh, I know that look. That's just me in the 80s. So as I'm listening to Diana Ross's music, I'm saying to myself, self, is Diana Ross going throughout the 1980s? Like from 1980, from her RC, from 1980 with Upside Down, and I'm coming out all the way up to even 1989. I'm saying, is Diana Ross still trying to sing in a disco style of music? It's not funny, but I'm like, this is funny. Like Diana Ross, this sounds like disco. The whole catalog. It does to me. I mean, I don't know if I'm missing something or if I'm just like got too deep in it, but all of the songs that I hear from Diana Ross or hear by Diana Ross after I'm coming out and Upside Down, to me, that's disco style of music. I don't think it's pop. I don't think it's R&B. When I hear them, I hear disco. That's just me. Oh, it was wonderful and it was a successful album, So let's continue to do that because we had success in this category. Okay. And another thing too, that's one, we're going to talk about a few things. So that's one, that she stayed in disco. And maybe the urban community was just not feeling disco like that. Like Diana Ross's singing is all over the place to me now that I'm listening to it. Like, I don't know if she's disco or if I don't know if she's this category. So remember I said To Love Again, like when I hear that album, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay. But guess when I hear that album, I'm saying to myself, like, well, is this like Olivia Newton-John? I don't know, Bette Midler. What's that other lady named Barbara Streisand? Type of singing, which is not bad. I'm just confused, Diana. Like, Diana, where we going with this, Diana? That's the second one. She stays the same when she's probably needed to change something up. Number two, where you going? Where you taking me, Diana? Like you kind of don't know what direction you want to go in. That's how I see it. It then brings up the third reason why I feel like Diana Ross did not have as much success as she should have. It looks like to me, Diana Ross took control of her own career. And I'm looking at this based off music. Like, as I told you guys, like I'm not saying what's real. I'm not saying what's fake. I know that when it comes to credit, sometimes people don't get the credit they're supposed to get. I understand that. But I'm just basically saying what I see from my hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching. Okay? So now when I'm looking at the album cover and I'm reading the album credits and all of that stuff, I can tell based off the credits that Diana Ross now is being billed as or credited as a producer of her music now in the 1980s, which I'm just here to tell you, it's definitely a boys' club. And I would like to think that sometimes when people look at your work and then they see it's you doing it, they probably don't take you seriously. And while the music could possibly be good, it's like, oh, she did it. Okay, Ian. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so she's no longer in that bubble of protection when it comes to, a gentleman such as Berry Gordy, who could probably have pushed the issue, or she needed a manager or management who could have really and definitely pushed the issue that Diana Ross is definitely a serious, producer now. Like, she's taking charge of her career. She's producing her own music, so on and so forth. And I don't know if you influence people how you influence people. We know payola, you're not supposed to do that. But now word on the streets now is that allegedly, people who get these Grammys, the company that bought the Grammys. Now, I always knew the company needed to nominate you. So maybe that's the reason why they tried to sugarcoat it, cover it up by saying, oh, well, the record company has to nominate you for the Grammys, which means that the record company had to allegedly pay for the Grammys. I always knew the only way you got a Grammy was if the record company, nominated you. So now I understand why they were saying nominated versus saying purchase it, bought the Grammy now. But anyway, it's what it is. So I think that's another reason why she was no longer in this bubble. And sometimes, and I keep telling people this, and I brought this up with in the Beyonce video when Beyonce and Diana Ross was being compared. I want people to understand this. That's the reason why I feel like Beyonce is not taken seriously, because she's taking her career in her own. She's taking control or trying to be in charge of her career in her musical direction. And, when people find out you're doing that, they're like, and it can be good. And people are like, right? Oh man, she's with Jay-Z on this one, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, Jay-Z. Like, no. Haven't even given it the opportunity to even get into it, to understand what direction she's going in. Same thing, I think, with Diana. She's producing it. I read in one part of the credits where there was one album that I think was supposed to be, I think it's Mirror Mirror. Is it the Mirror Mirror album? Supposedly there's an album with Diana Ross where she was supposed to, or was it Why Do Fools Fall in Love? I don't think so. I think it was, anyway, who cares about that? That's not even what I'm going to talk about, but that's the example. Like, hey, I want to work with this particular producer, but this producer cannot work with me right now. I've told the record companies that I'm going to put out an album. I promised them that. I go in and produce it myself. That's Diana Ross taking control of her career now. So I don't know. You guys tell me. I don't know. I am definitely thinking that Diana Ross definitely was kind of pushed to the side in the 80s and pretty much became an afterthought to people in the industry. And I know I can hear in my head say, I hear y'all. I hear you in my head. Because this is more like a conversation over here. And I hear you guys saying, oh, but she did this, that, and the other. And this song was very popular. We're not talking about that. We're not. As I told you, the songs that she released in the 80s are definitely my favorites. I still think that she should have received awards for songs such as I'm Missing You and Endless Love. Oh, thank you. The fourth reason why I feel like Diana Ross' career, I just don't understand it. I will still never understand it. The fourth reason. So you're working with Bernard Edwards, right? Is it Bernard Edwards? What's that guy name? Oh, y'all know who I'm talking about. I just can't get the people's names out. Nile Rodgers, that's it. I'm sorry, y'all. But isn't Edwards one of them? Bernard Edwards? Yeah. Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards. That's number one. So let's look at it. I want y'all to understand. Follow with me. Bernard Edwards, Nile Rodgers, Michael Jackson, and Lionel Richie. I'm going to repeat this. Bernard Edwards, Nile Rodgers, Michael Jackson, and Lionel Richie. For whatever reason, when I'm listening to her music now, I'm thinking to myself, what happened that someone such as a Diana Ross, and like I said, this says a lot, you guys, did not have enough power, did not have enough clout. I don't know, maybe resources, management, to get these four guys to take her career into the stratosphere in the 80s. Like Diana Ross, if she kept these four guys in her corner and had some good management, who knows what could have happened? Because, I'm thinking about, which one is it? Is it Bernard Edwards or Nile Rodgers? Which one of them worked with Madonna in the beginning of the early stages of career, right? But then in my head, now that I'm thinking about it, I hear someone probably saying, well, now you might be right. That could be great. That does sound like on the surface, that sounds like, yes, that's a great idea. But if you're talking about disco, Peppy, if you're talking about disco, then that means that someone like Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards, they're being pushed to the side. They're not even being taken seriously anymore. Lionel Richie is a slow build. Michael Jackson, do you see? So even those four guys can come off like misfits too in the business. It's just what it is. So when you have someone like Michael Jackson, who's definitely is trying to make headway in his career, this is interesting. And we already see what happened to Michael Jackson's career. And how he, what I'm saying, once he started taking control of his career, how he was being shunned and ostracized and all of that stuff. It's interesting. It's interesting. I don't know, you guys. I like I said, I don't know. You guys are gonna have to tell me this one about our diva over here. But everything in my head is telling me boss moves. It's boss moves, and she's doing it. She's doing it like she's taking control over her career. She's not waiting on anyone to do anything, and yes, she had some success with some singles. Albums have done pretty decently, I guess you could say, overseas or what have you. Like, she still has a career. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm talking about an album that I could play from beginning to end. I'm talking about an album that had multiple, anywhere between 3 to 5 hit songs on it. You see, like this here is superstar. This is you're an icon. Wow. I don't know. But tell me what you think. No, am I right? Am I wrong? Well, anyway, over here, we're at the 30-minute mark, and I'm going to try to squeeze in 1 or 2 more videos before I got to go and start my day, you know. But anyway, on that note, you know, over here, Peppy, me. I believe in putting your behind where your heart desires to be. Yes, I do. And also remember, whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, she says, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. And I'm here to tell you I love you. Thank you so much for your support. I really, truly do appreciate it. And also, I'm looking forward to seeing your next video. And until then, you know what to do out there. Take care.